Jordan Henderson picked up that heel injury in that game and he's ruled out today. Daniel Sturridge makes his first start in 12 games. Tis clean sheets in 3 of the last 4, so perhaps not as defensively vulnerable as we thought. Have they sorted out those issues?
They've certainly looked a bit tighter, and Manchester City didn't particularly threaten them with all their attacking might. So things are looking up, I think, for Liverpool defensively. I still think the goalkeeping situation is probably the one that's probably the most on their mind in terms of whether they can keep enough clean sheets through the back end of the season. But no, it's definitely looked up for them.
Of all of their big money signings, Alan McInally, in some ways, Giorgio Wijnaldum is the one that's gone under the radar, certainly outside of Merseyside. But within Merseyside, is he regarded as a success, do you think?
Yeah, I think he is, absolutely. I live up there and he seems to be well liked. I think Klopp likes him. His goal was an absolute beauty, by the way. I mean, it's a great... I mean, if you're ever going to have a headed goal ever as a football player, when the ball leaves the cross here, he knows he's favourite to win it. And it just drops absolutely perfect. Look, he knows he gets it all day long. It's a brilliant header, great control, and the defender has absolutely no chance as he attacks that. Gets across him, and it's a beauty. And good enough to win the game, no question about it. I thought Liverpool were the better team anyway. But I think he's grown into it, Jeff. I think the bigger the football team is, sometimes it's very difficult to sign for a Liverpool and a Man United, etc., to cope with the. You can't lose any game. You can't just go into a game and think, it doesn't really matter if we don't win today. Liverpool and United and etc., all those teams, you need to win every match. And I think that's hard for some players. And I think he's just grown into it. I genuinely do. I think he'll be a big player for Liverpool this year. Maybe just, and obviously his whole time there.
They played in the late Saturday game, of course, against Manchester City. Huge game as well. Now 3 o'clock kick-off against Sunderland. Jurgen Klopp said, no excuses. We have to perform, and we will. But that is an excuse in itself, isn't it? You've got such a big game late on Saturday evening.
When you have momentum, it doesn't feel like that. You don't really go down that line. When Wijnaldum, was it 3-4 weeks ago, Jeff, when we had the interview with him, and he was talking about the training and how the demands were so high on him and every player, so everybody's competing against each other. And this is what they've got now. I know Henderson's out today. It's my game, actually. And you would imagine that Liverpool would look to boss this game and get on the ball and the movement up front. Would be expecting a comfortable win here today. But they've still got to put this performance in. Wijnaldum's the type that he's very efficient player.
Really?
I thought that his work rate, everything, he fits in. He's a good team player. They like him. And he fits in well. He fits into all the clever players who's round about him too. But yeah, I still think that was a big demanding game. Although they deserved to beat Man City, it was a very demanding game. And it's easy to get 25 minutes, 30 minutes to go today. And if Sunderland sit in and be fairly defensive with no Coney and people like that today, then it could be difficult to break them down. I've recently seen them at Southampton. They should have won the game. They didn't. Ended up with a 0-0 draw. This could go the same way if they're not up to speed and that competitive edge is missing.
You say if they sit in and make things difficult. It looked, Alan McInally, you were there, it looked like they're going to find it mighty difficult to sit in and make it difficult for anyone on the basis of that game at Turf Moor.
What Charlie said is absolutely spot on. But if he'd been sitting next to me watching Sunderland against Burnley at the weekend, he'd have thought that Liverpool were going to win 10-0. They were that bad defensively. Decisions they made. Lamine Coney get injured. It was a very innocuous... he tried to stop Andre Gray get the ball in. They slid off. He went into the hoardings, but it didn't look as if he was that bad. When he comes back on, I'm thinking to myself, he didn't want to play. He doesn't look at it at all. He's not interested. Anyway, David has to make the change. Brings O'Shea, who started the middle of the park, back into defence. Nothing changed. Defensively, they were all over the place. And it was really... I felt for David Moyes at the weekend. I genuinely felt for him at the weekend. Because although Burnley weren't fantastic, they deserved to win before goal.
And it begs the question, Merce, doesn't it? If Gilabodji and O'Shea struggled against Andre Gray, how are they going to do against Firmino and Mane and Sturridge and Lallana?
I know, Jeff. I really don't. I couldn't have had a good night's sleep last night, if I'm being honest. I really don't. The defending, to be fair, the first goal, I thought the linesman done great. Because he was a mile offside, and it's obviously come off O'Shea's head, and that's what's played him onside. It's a fair play. But, no, I just...
Pretty scary prospect.
It is a scary prospect. It is. But you know what it's like, this Premier League. You know, they need to score first. Sunderland. If they score first, and then they'll get a lot of air into their lungs. If they go 1-0 down, light bulbs in the scoreboard.
And again, you were watching it, Alan. Vito Mannone. Well, he looked like a man who hadn't played for a while. Didn't he? David Moyes, in fairness, was quite open in blaming him for the first couple of goals.
Well, I watch this. Can I dive out the way of this? I mean, his left hand has got to come out to try and stop the ball for sure. Djilabodji doesn't get him here. He's already made his decision. He knows he can't touch him, and Andre Gray has a good save at the time. But some of the decisions out with that were really, really poor from Mannone. So watch this. I mean, to be fair to Mannone, Jeff, you can add them to, the rest of them. They just weren't at it at all. And just on the first goal, by the way, Ashley Barnes catches Djilabodji about 2 or 3 minutes before, and Djilabodji leaves Andre Gray to come in and try and get Ashley Barnes. He's looking for retribution all day long. Not even good enough to do that. Misses the ball, and Andre Gray scores. And the first goal was so important at the weekend, because they did have a little spell, Sunderland, that they were okay and they were at the races. But when that first goal went in, I mean, Mannone took a bit of stick, but there's a few of them have to properly look at themselves, and today is going to be very, very difficult.
So, Charlie, Cattermole, Kirkhoff, Watmore, McNair, all out with long-term injuries. Kone injured, but going to the African Nations Cup if he's fit enough to go there. And Dong going to the African Nations Cup as well. Khazri going to the African Nations Cup as well. On the bench today, he's only named 6 players.
Just enough. 3
of whom are teenagers, Honeyman, Embleton and Marshall. There's no money to spend, or so he's been told. What's keeping David Moyes in this job? Why doesn't he walk away?
It must be the hardest decision to make in a situation where 2 weeks ago he found out the real truth about no investment, no real future in terms of what his plan would be. David Moyes would have walked into this club and said, "You've been too busy trying to spend your way out of the relegation every season. Why don't you start to set up a proper setup in this club that in 2 or 3 years' time you might actually get some benefit from it?" He doesn't even have funds to do that. He doesn't have time, necessity he put on. He looks at his young players, which is very little. He gave them a run out in some under 21 EFL situation, but they weren't good enough really again, other than Pickford and Watmore when he was fit. So he's just left in a seriously dangerous situation. The problem is, because I think
do you think maybe he's been given some guarantees that if they do, it's a big club with fantastic support.
Jeff, there has to be some sort of a guarantee. David Moyes has every right to get up today after this match and say, "I've had enough," because above me is people who are accepting that this is going to be the year to take them down, and my name is going to be on this. I already got unfairly treated at Manchester United. I didn't get long enough. I had to go and build my reputation up at Spain. It didn't quite go as well as what I wanted, and I've took my time to try and find the right club and project that would suit me. I've decided to pick yous when I could have went to someone else, and this is how you treat me." So that unfairness is there. It's a touch like what Tiz was saying about Defoe. Would he say now, maybe the right time for me to move? Would you accept a bid for me? Would David be right to say it's the right time for me to walk out? I'm sorry, Sunderland fans, but there's a situation. It must be so difficult for him to break down where the situation is that gives him hope. Never mind the supporters that he's got to give hope to.
There was some positives, Charlie, out with the result against, like Barini. Larson did well. The boy Januzaj can play, created the goal. Defoe's got a goal in him. Thought Larson did okay, although he's playing out of position because he's playing in a 2 in the middle of the park with Ndong, which is not his position whatsoever, because he needs to play in that wider area to be more effective, because he can get the ball into the box and go forward. So there was some positive. But see, defensively, Chaz, they were absolutely...
But that's the positives. And we hear the positives every season when they're always fighting and fighting and fighting. The problem is now that what guarantees has David Moyes had to say there is some hope, David, but you have to keep this to yourself or within the dressing room walls. You have to keep this here and keep us giving us a heartbeat. If David Moyes is to walk out, who's going to take this job over? That tells you the predicament they're actually in, because you don't have another big name manager who's going to jump in and say, "Do you know what, I'll take this situation." There's people who are walking away from Swansea's job, who were actually avoiding getting interviews, And now they've finally got a manager in. And the same will happen to Sunderland.
Sorry, James, I was going to say, I can only presume he must be kicking himself, Moisey. As much as he wants to do
someone.
Well, as much as he desperately wants to do well at Sunderland, I'll guarantee you, I bet you turned down some other jobs, and I bet he's thinking, can't believe I put myself in this situation now. Because I'm sure there must have been, like you said, Jeff, something that said, you'll get some money to spend and you'll switch the team. Now all of a sudden that carpet's been drawn.
And by the way, I should tell you as well that Crystal Palace are now being linked with Patrick Van Arnholt. Sam Allardyce wants to be reunited with him by all accounts. The way things are going, David Moyes is going to have to start playing himself again soon, isn't he? By the way, I should say, I've read the Sunderland team from our Opta feed here, but I think they've missed a name out. I think they have got 7 on the bench. Michael Ledger, who's a 20-year-old, hasn't had a kick for the first team so far. I think he's also on that substitutes bench, so it's a very inexperienced bench indeed. Super 6, it's our first Super 6.